Will Polish president's actions put a strain on Warsaw-Kyiv relations, and why is Moldova at the very center of Europe's attention? We'll talk about it with our guest, Wojciech Przybylski, editor-in-chief of Visegrad Insight. Good evening.
Good evening.
Let's start with Poland. In what way the presidential veto concerning benefits for Ukrainians in Poland may affect the country's economy?
Polish economy or Ukrainian economy?
Polish economy.
Well, Polish economy is benefiting from the surge of Ukrainian workers, not just migrants and refugees, that have started to come to Poland already over 10 years ago in big numbers after 2014. In general, the two economies are connected. And Polish job market, with one of the lowest unemployments in Europe, is experiencing economic benefits of this very unfortunate, very bad, tragic situation, and comes to the geostrategic conditions, the war itself, the atrocities committed by Russia. So pushing or making Ukrainians feel unwelcome, and because of policies and laws and regulation that would forbid them from prolonging their stay beyond end of September, they're put in a more precarious situation, and they might consider to leave along with the jobs that are there in the healthcare system, in transportation services, basically in every pillar of the Polish economy. I mean, you can compare the significance of that to how much migrant workers have been the foundations of the British economy before Brexit. To what extent Russian-sponsored narrative of Brexit has been undercutting British economy along with the European links and ties to the key security partner, which is Britain.
Understood. However, this veto concerns, just like you said, social benefits for those who work legally in Poland, right?
Well, the social benefits are just a smokescreen. At least this is what the government says, because the actual regulations that have been vetoed are only in part the subsidies for families. And who could deny that families with children in a country with one of the lowest demographic growth need every support possible, regardless of the current nationality? Because
I'm asking you about it because it was today that the president, expressed his bewilderment with the fact that the government does not support his veto because it was the government-backed candidate during the presidential campaign who first came up with this idea. Yeah, but what the president wants to do is put things upside down in Polish politics overall. I mean, he's deliberately attempting to put himself in charge without constitutional prerogatives. He is attempting at creating an image that he has the initiative and legitimacy that the government does not have it. And he tries to sell it a very primitive picture to probably many of his voters, quite true, that because they voted for him, Donald Tusk is no longer the prime minister. So that's what we saw today during the cabinet council, right? That he's presiding over the works of the government, not the prime minister.
I mean,
was that the intention?
He's using the constitutional facade in order to try to undercut the politics and democratic legitimacy of the government as things stand in Poland. And Poland is a parliamentary republic. President has unusually strong position for a parliamentary republic, to the point that some people say this is semi-presidential. But a president may play only a constructive role or a destructive role to the government policy. And he can be constructive in a sense of pushing things forward and creating more ambitious policies, or he can veto and block. And he chooses, apparently Mr. Nawrocki chooses to veto and block and to be the destructor of the Polish politics. And to what end? In the given circumstances, to what end?
Now, this veto may have really far-reaching consequences. Now, do you believe that such a scenario of hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians leaving Poland next month is a possible one?
I think it is possible in gradual steps, not by thousands in lines and packing up their cars. But there isn't one family of Ukrainian origin in Poland that wouldn't be thinking about it, I'm sure. And along with them, all the people who are dependent on their support and their work in Poland. Owners of companies, public institutions, as I mentioned, school, hospitals, clinics, and so on. So we are all interconnected to the unprecedented level in the Polish modern history, in the history of modern European economy as well. I mean, as I mentioned, Brexit could be an illustration of how much important their role in the Polish economy is. And they have so far, they have much bigger rights than any workers have had in Britain, in the sense that they are really part of the Polish economy without the citizens' rights, the full public rights.
Talking about citizenship, there's a new law in Ukraine which states that Ukrainians residing in Poland, Germany and the Czech Republic can now obtain a dual citizenship. It was impossible before. Now, do you think that this law can actually change the situation of Ukrainians in Poland? Well,
lack of this law, of the previous state, that we didn't have this constraint. And the Ukrainian state was in a way oppressive, not only for Ukrainians who left, but also towards those who possibly would like to leave. You can see that the strategy is changing. It's not only this dual citizenship law, but also an announcement that male citizens of Ukraine between age 18 and 22, I think, will also be able to travel and reconnect to families. And in a way, the direction set by the government, if this is going forward, is going to be opening up, being more trustful towards citizens, trusting that they are doing things for themselves, and that Ukrainian state needs them but cannot coerce them to patriotism. It just has to trust the Ukrainians will love their country and do their duty.
Talking about the duty, the patriotic duty, Moldovans will choose their next government in a month, and leaders of Poland, Germany and France today visited Chișinău. Now, how important is this show of support ahead of the elections?
It's increasingly important. It's important for Moldova because of the direction the government may steer afterwards. It's important for the European Union in the sense of a success story Moldova may still become, but it's under threat because, on one hand, of course, citizens' direction may change, but the belief is, and I think this is the most important one, that citizens can be lured into an offer which is not true, not honest offer by those who are willing to bribe them into voting for parties.
I've checked the last opinion polls, and Maya Sandu's party is actually some 20 percent points ahead.
Right.
Of the coalition of socialists and communists. Now, is there anything that can happen, in a month, to change the projected outcome of elections?
Neighboring to Moldova, we have Romania, and in Romania, against the opinion polls and against the predictions, we had a mass systemic irregularities of simply buying voters, amplifying this voter buying through digital toolbox that allowed a massive influx of votes that you would call illegitimate in the system because they were bought, they were not decisions of a free will by their citizens. And we know already that some of the oligarchs present and active in Moldova are putting money, are pledging money to do exactly the same in an action orchestrated with Russia, which doesn't want Moldova to progress, to move forward and join in the future the European Union. So a lot is at stake also in this political
there's this
technology.
quite interesting pattern of creating political parties that are officially pro-European, but in fact they serve Russia's interest, right?
No,
so that's something new.
It's not something new. It's something we've been living in for 10 years, or at least. Petr Pomerantsev writes in his book, "This is not propaganda. This is the age of post-truth." And Kremlin is deciding that instead of hardball ideology, it rather wants to undermine any sense of truth, of a sense of facts on the ground, and using this confusion, it can then install certain emotive institutions or actors in the public field. And such are these parties. This is about creating supposedly pro-European parties, but their actual intention and effect on the public decisions and the law, the legal acts, are only going to curtail Moldova from the path that they want by declaration to choose. Similar thing has just happened in Georgia. We also had a party that declared itself moving towards the European Union and being such a pro-European fan, but in all their actions, they did the things that prevent Georgia from moving towards European integration.
They also declared themselves anti-war, and given the complicated political situation in Moldova, the Transnistrian region where Russian forces still stationed, it may just well be the case with Moldova too. And this is where we put full stop. Wojciech Przybylski, editor-in-chief of Visegrad Insight, was our guest this evening. Thank you.
Thank you
very much. And thank you for watching and stay with us for much more news and interviews here on TVP World.